How much do you want to talk about Drake Maye as opposed to anything else? I mean,
Oh yeah.
it has to be a conversation after the way he played in the second preseason game. Even for you hardened souls there at Patriots.com, it had to have been a conversation.
Oh yeah. I mean, nothing fun to watch. I mean, he's been fun to watch this summer. I mean, I've kind of seen the same thing. Like, I know we've kind of gone from like, they shouldn't have drafted him to like, he has to start next week. Like, we're kind of going back and forth with that stuff. But I just feel like he's consistently gotten better. You've seen progress. Certainly, right now when he gets out there in 7-on-7, it looks like he really knows what he's doing. So it's been encouraging. I get why everybody's hot to trot and get him out there. And certainly I am. I'm not, like, we don't need to get him out there next week, but that's the key. I mean, that's the biggest thing everybody wants to see. We want to see Drake play. We want to see, him firing those deep balls like he's been doing all summer. So it's been pretty cool to watch just, how he's developed. And I think it's exciting. I mean, that's the piece you need. You need the quarterback, and, it's not going to probably be next week that he's going to be the guy, but it seems like all the things that you look for to be that guy are there with Drake Maye.
Okay, so you said something that Fred and I had a disagreement about last week. When someone says, and in this case it was Greg Bedard who had written something about, like, you'll hear people say something like, you start to question everything, like maybe they shouldn't have drafted Drake Maye based on the way things looked.
Yeah.
Is that a result of the way he himself played or the way the team is constructed? I took it to mean, or at least it could mean, they weren't ready to draft a quarterback yet. They should have gone somewhere else, like, I don't know, maybe a left tackle or something else instead of drafting a quarterback at all. Or is it more pointed at Drake Maye and what he looked like early on?
I think it was probably a little bit more on the former, the team around him. I said it during the draft. It's like, you get a chance to be in the top three. You get a chance to get this kind of kid. I just don't, I mean, if we were sitting here looking at, hey, we got a great left tackle protecting Jacoby Brissett, it still looks like crap. But, I don't know, like, where that's going to send you head. And so I'm all on board with keeping him. I know that it's, not perfect around him right now. They're trying to work through some stuff for sure. It's a whole new coaching staff. It's a new offensive system. There are certainly growing pains in many areas and spots that, I think are worthy of criticism that we talked about all offseason that, especially on the offensive line, they needed to address that, maybe they haven't. I think they probably believe in their guys along the offensive line a little more than we do at this point. But I just think you look at, like, the Giants when they were in Hard Knocks, how desperate they were to, like, man, we'd love to go get Drake Maye. Do they have the team? They went and got the weapon. Now you're kind of seeing Daniel Jones firing it, all over the yard, not able to hit Malik Neighbors. So anyway, long story short, my opinion, you got this guy in house. I think that's the hardest piece to get. You don't want to be back in the top three next year. So I don't know what the development plan is or how long it's going to take. I mean, a couple of weeks, few weeks, 6 weeks, something like that. But he's got to play this year. I just don't need him to play week one.
Is the offensive line good enough to put him behind it? You mentioned that the Patriots evaluators may think a little more highly of them than the rest of us do.
Yeah.
Saw Vidarian Lowe leave practice yesterday. Is
Yep.
the offensive line good enough?
That's a blow. And I mean, look, I know Vidarian Lowe has been somewhat of, a punchline around here of like, oh, he's the guy we're rolling out. I mean, he's a good guy. He's working hard. I mean, they seem like they like him. And I mean, they've had him in there for the last, 3 weeks. I mean, for the majority of camp, they've been just drilling that guy. I mean, even in the preseason games, he was playing a ton, and then he goes out. So we'll see how it all plays out. We'll go out there today at practice. But I do think Caden Wallace is still kind of the hope. He's a rookie. He's got, maybe it's just the fact that we don't know how good or bad he really is yet. He's shown some progress. So he was in there yesterday during practice when Lowe went out. Maybe it's a chance for Wallace to get in there, because if Wallace can lock down one of the sides, I think they're going to be okay. But there's certainly Layden Robinson, another rookie inside that, I think has some potential that we haven't quite seen yet, that we haven't, we know we've been around the block with some of these guys already. So I think there's some potential there, but look, I can't sugarcoat it. It's definitely a concern. And I was somebody, and I think when I talked to you guys earlier this summer, I'm like, it'll be fine. I'm a little bit worried.
All right. So getting back to the quarterbacks, you have a situation where you have Bailey Zappi and you have Joe Milton.
Yeah.
Brissett and Drake Maye are obviously, on the team. What do you do if you're the Patriots with the quarterback room?
Yeah, I think the complicated thing that you're just a little bit worried about is, if Brissett were to get dinged in the first week or two, and then you're forced to throw Maye in, do you hold on to Zappi just in case. Like, Paul Perillo, my beloved colleague, he said, Jesus, if you could get Zappy to the practice squad just to have him there as insurance. There are teams like Green Bay that might need a backup quarterback, so maybe they could swing him for practically nothing. But I think at the end of the day, you're probably just going to roll with Brissett and May and Milton. I'd love to keep Milton around, just continue to try to take those lottery tickets on quarterbacks. You never know.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think it's ultimately going to be three guys though, and I think Zappy will end up somewhere else.
Okay, because you mentioned something that would frighten me as a Patriots fan is that, I saw this last year with the Jets. Like you said, Jacoby Brissett gets hurt in the first game. Who thought Aaron Rodgers was going to tear his Achilles on the fourth play of the season? Forces Zach Wilson in. The idea was they were going to sit Zach Wilson, that he wasn't ready. Zach Wilson comes in, and now his career is essentially over. He's third string or whatever in Denver behind a rookie. I would be concerned about not having Zappy on the roster because if Brissett gets hurt and it puts May in that situation, I don't want that. And I don't want his NFL debut coming in that kind of early season, fill in. He didn't have the proper preparation working with the ones during the week. I don't like that.
Yeah. Well, I think at that point in my brain, what's going to just kick in is let's just roll with it. Like, let's just go. It's never going to be perfect for him to get in there. And, I want him to get some experience this year. Like, I want him.
Yeah, but later. Right?
Yeah.
Like, not, you even said you didn't want to start in week one. But the whole point of having Brissett.
I know. So I know, but it's bad enough having to do Brissett. Like, it's bad enough feeling like you're treading water for Brissett. And then you're going to go with, I get the point. And believe me, I think it's a totally valid one. I'm just saying in my mind where it's like, let's just start, that's what's going to take over for me. Like Zappy, really? Like, is it that much easier with him in there than May? Like, from what I've seen in practice, it's not like May doesn't know what he's doing. Him and Brissett get all the reps. So, at some point he's got to be ready. These other rookie quarterbacks are all going to start. I know May's younger. He's less experienced, but still, like, let's just take some lumps with the young kids and get ready to roll. Let's get beat by the Jets. Let's get beat by the Dolphins and let them go, and form that kind of baseline for this guy and for the future.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to play him against the Jets with that offensive line. But nonetheless, especially if Reddick comes back. But so I heard Felger and Maz talking about, I really don't know, so you explain it to me. Drake Maye worked with the ones yesterday, but he was handing off the ball more than he was throwing, and this was a controversy in some way. Did you see something weird with practice yesterday with Drake Maye working with the ones?
It's like every time Drake May's hands get near David Andrews' butt, everybody loses their mind. Like, he's taking first steps with the center, and it was only one. I can't keep track of that stuff. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they have a bunch of offensive linemen. Their centers have been all banged up. All the offensive line is rotating. So apparently he took a snap from David Andrews yesterday for, whatever. I'm like, I don't know. I missed it. Like, look, Jacoby Brissett is the starter. He takes the starter reps. They do some rotating, but Drake Maye is not like going to get out. There's nothing out there meaningful that he gets out there where you're like, oh, they're auditioning him right now. This is the chance. This is all the first team guys, and it's him, and it's in a 2-minute drill. You don't see that. You see him take a random rep somewhere from David Andrews, and everybody goes crazy. So I just think all signs are pointing to Jacoby Brissett is going to start this team like they've been saying along. And Drake Maye, they're going to bring him along. See how it goes the first games of the season. Get this new coaching staff, this new team off and running. See what the real problems are once teams start game planning for you and trying to exploit your weaknesses. And then a little bit better what you're dealing with. But he's got to get in there at some point this season.
Do you have a theory on why Mayo just hasn't gone Brissett's going to start?
Well, I think I was thinking about it a little bit. I think what's kind of been highlighted to me is why Bill never said anything, because anytime Mayo says it's a competition or, we're still going to declare, like, all these things just get thrown back in his face where, Bill never even set it up saying these things that they could do that to him. So I think it's hard the way he's trying. Mayo's a new coach. He's understanding how to deal with the media, especially in this town. It's tough where they, remember everything you say and they go back to it and as they should. So I think he's got to stay out of his own way a little bit with that stuff. But it's just, you look at the field, you look at the practice, you look what's happening. It's Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett is going to start the season as the quarterback. And all this talk of, can Drake Maye win the starting job on the last Friday practice before the preseason? Like, it's just, I think it's kind of silly. I think all signs are pointing to what the obvious answer is all along.
Okay, and just finally, I don't mean to dominate the conversation, fellas. I apologize.
That's
but,
all right. Deuce and I just can talk whenever we want.
Yeah, that is true. I don't have his phone number.
You take your time with him.
Okay. Do you have any sense of how they're going to work? Let's just stick with the quarterbacks. How they're going to work the quarterbacks in the last preseason game?
Yeah, I think you'll probably see, not much of Brissett, maybe a little bit. I think a little bit, and then a little bit of May, and I think probably the second half will be mostly Zappe and Milton. Yesterday, you could see they're running off cards. You can see Zappe and Milton getting more attention than they usually do. I mean, usually in practice, it's like they split kind of cleanup reps. Like it's, they're barely involved. They were a little bit more involved yesterday. I do think May will get, a few series at least. But I would say, a couple series for Brissett, few series for May, and then Milton and Zappe will probably clean it up.
It's hard to
bed early.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to tell like how they treat the third preseason game now, because that was always the dress rehearsal, and now with only 3.
Well, because the fourth game it was no one who was going to make the team.
A lot of teams sit their starters. May always said everyone who's healthy is going to play.
Yeah, but there's there's like no rule anymore across the league how the third preseason game is treated.
Right. Yeah, it's not. No one played in the fourth one. Right. Go ahead.
No, it's like we're all ships adrift here. I don't know what is this, like year 3 of 3 preseason games, and like no one can figure it out. There's no set formula of like who's going to play when. Like, dude, there's no more dress rehearsal. There's no more fourth preseason game where it's all just kind of like basically guys are going to get cut the next day. But yeah, I think we are going to see pretty much, especially the offensive line. They got to get those guys in there. But Vidarian Lowe, we'll see today if he's able to go get back out there.
No, you're going to have to worry about a third preseason game for one more year.
I know these poor season ticket holders. They're just grabbing these preseason games away from them. It used to be you got season tickets and you said,
sad.
I get to pay for these 2 exhibition games, and now that's all gone.
No.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
All right, Mike Dussault, Patriots.com. You and Hardy have a nice chat later today when you guys are broing out. Congratulations on seeing Pink and seeing her fly to the 300 section. Thank you so much for the time, sir.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thanks,
all right,
Mike.
thank you.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.